Good morning. Sorry for that 1 minute delay. Lost track of time. Welcome to the June 13th School Board of Manatee County regular meeting. We will start the meeting with a call to order and also our reading in the district's vision by Mr. Tatum.
The School District of Manatee County will be an exemplary, student-focused school system that develops lifelong learners to be globally competitive.
And if you would mind introducing Pastor?
Sure. So the invocation today will be done by the pastor of a church that I attend. That would be Pastor David Mazon, and he is the pastor of Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church. So Pastor Mazon, if you would like to come up to the podium and give us our sermon, or our, well, not a sermon, but a prayer, actually. If you want to do a sermon, short one, that would be fine.
Everybody can rise,
too.
please.
Thank you.
We thank you for the opportunity to this board, Manatee County School Board, to the superintendent, and to all of you in your respective places. I bring greetings to you from the Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church in Palmetto, Florida. If we just bow our head just for a moment. Heavenly Father, you've been my dwelling place through all generations. We come now, Heavenly Father, asking you for forgiveness of sins, whatever they've been, oh God. We thank you for allowing Jesus to take our sin debts to Calvary's Hill and bury them and rising up early on the third day morning. For that cause, we say thank you. We bless you now, oh Father God, and asking you to allow your Holy Spirit to reign here today in this meeting, oh Father God. Touch the leaders, oh God, of this school district, oh God. Touch those that make decisions of this school district, oh Father God. Bless each and every one of us that's here. Lord, allow us, in the name of Jesus, to come together as one body, do the things that you have called us to do, oh Father God, that would help each other, oh Father God, in all of our education and in the learning abilities that we have that you have placed upon us, oh God. Bless now, Lord, in the matchless mighty name of Jesus. We'll be ever so mindful to give you the praise and all the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May be seated. Move on to item number 5, informational purposes only. Year-to-date charter financial statements were posted, the leads for June 13th, and also the year-to-date financial statements of the district were posted as well. Item number 6, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion. Let me get my Granicus up, excuse me. We have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Any discussion of the agenda? Seeing none. Let's call a vote to approve this morning's agenda.
Not Granicus.
Are you not on Granicus yet? We're just going to do it verbally by hand, Ms. Cox. So all those in favor of approving the agenda, raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes 5-0. 5-0. Moving on to item number 7, approval of the minutes. Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval of the minutes for May 23rd, 2023 school board meeting, May 26th, 2023 school board workshop, May 26th, 2023 school board exempt cybersecurity meeting, June 2nd, 2023 school board workshop.
Thank you very much.
So moved.
We have our motion
I'll second.
and a second.
I'll be there in a second, but we'll do. Let's do
Yep, let's do it again. Absolutely. Laura, Ms. Cox, we're just going to do it verbally again in my hands. All in favor of approval of the minutes, raise your hand. Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. 5-0. Moving on to item number 8, recognitions. Mr. Barber coming up. We've got an exciting recognition
We do.
for sure.
That's right. Thank you, Mr.
And
Board.
they've got to stay the rest of the meeting, so it feels like a full house. Sorry.
They'll be happy to. They'll be happy to. They have nothing better to do.
Right? It's summertime, right?
But thank you, Mr. Board Chair, board members, and Superintendent Saunders. This is not just a special group, but an historic group. And you talk about we want to finish the school year on a strong note, and this was really finishing it with a bang. But let me tell you a little bit about these people, because they look all very nice and everything as they're standing up here right now. But believe me, you would not want to compete against them. So the Paris Community High softball team, led by head coach Aaron Spivey, won the Class 5A state championship with a 5-0 win over Deltona High on May 25th in Claremont. The championship was the very first state title in school history for Paris Community High, and that was individual or state. It was the very first state championship for Paris Community High, which opened in 2019. So it's been open for 4 years now, right? So in the span of 4 years, this team became a team of champions. But it just wasn't a championship team. This was a team of dominance. They finished the season with a 24-3 record. However, in their last 9 games of the season, including the playoffs, they posted 8 shutouts and outscored their opponents 68-1. But then that's not all. It gets better, because in Manatee County, not only do we like to have great athletes, but we like to have great students. Well, this team is also a team of brains, because they were also awarded the Florida High School Athletic Association's Class 5A Academic Team Champion Award for having the highest cumulative GPA of any softball team in their classification. That GPA was 3.778. So not only were they champions on the field, they were champions in the classroom. And to tell us a little bit more about this group and introduce us to the people here is the head coach and physical education teacher at Paris Community High, Aaron Spivey. Aaron? Oh, I'm sorry.
You gotta leave that.
Right.
Thank you. These group of ladies have worked extremely hard, and like he said, in the classroom and on the field, we've really focused on having great energy wherever we are and making sure that we're doing all that we can, both academically and in our sport, and it paid off. So I'm going to introduce them one by now. Alexandra Call. Where is she? Some of them aren't here, but we're going to go ahead and introduce them. Grace Christani, Carson France, Julia Girk, Lily Grimes, who also is the valedictorian of her class, Jade Cruz, Carson Call, Hannah Lewis, Riley Little, Sophia Mandarin, Alexandra Messina, Ella Romano, Brooke Strickland, Ella Torres, Isabella Vega, Lindsay Watson, Gracelyn Woodring, and Isabella Yazzetti. These ladies really came together. This is our first year of having a senior class for our softball program, and last year we really knew we had something special and we wanted to work towards it, and we really turned that focus into, like I said before, just good energy and coming together as a group and obtaining our goals, which were not just to win a state title, but also to do the best we could in the classroom, and it all came together. And we're super proud of all the hard work and dedication that these girls have put in. It's a very, very long season, and they stuck together, and I couldn't be more proud of each and every one of them. I also want to go ahead and recognize my assistant coaches, Allison Yon, Buddy Yon, Coach Perry Patella, who's not with us today, but the amount of dedication that they have poured into our team and hard work and being there for the girls day in, day out is just unparalleled. At this time, I'm also going to introduce our athletic director, Coach Sean Trent, to come up. He's going to come say a few words. You do. You do.
Thank you for having us. Like Coach said, this is special, especially for being only the 4th year open. It's really hard to win a state title. This is my 16th year as an AD, and it's the first team state title we've won. In my career, I've won a couple of individual, team track and tennis and stuff like that, but to win a team one's definitely more difficult. So to accomplish that in 4 short years is very difficult to do. And I, to the coaches, push the academic side of it very hard because I know what that means to these kids down the road in terms of college money and things like that. So to accomplish the academic state championship on top of the team state championship is really important. So just congratulations to all the coaches and all the girls. You know, they did a wonderful job. So thank you for having us.
I do also want to note, acknowledge Principal Craig Little and, I'm sorry, Assistant Principal Jillian Bieber for being here. So anyway, thank you very much. As I said, a team.
And
Yes.
real quick, just before, I don't know if you said this, but it was announced maybe yesterday. Did I see it yesterday where Coach Spivey was announced Florida Coach of the Year? So. So congratulations on that as well.
So winners all around. So anyway, thank you very much for coming down and being with us.
Mr. Hayden.
So, I've said this before, but I like to say it at all these athletic events. There's a really good quote, me being a former Air Force guy, on the fields, when you go onto the athletic fields at West Point, General MacArthur, a World War II era general, has this quote, and it says, "On the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds which on other fields and on other days will bear the fruits of victory." And what that means is that when, you know, athletics is a great way to learn how to do healthy competition within a set of rules and to compete fairly with, you know, our fellow human beings and yet have some ambition and achieve our goals. So that's really what you guys did, you gals did, and we're really proud of you, and just take those lessons from your athletics and competition into the rest of life. So congratulations, thank you.
I'd like to say
Congrats. Anybody else?
Yeah, as a former coach myself, it takes an army to get everybody on the same team to achieve the same goal. And you have done it both academically and in the sporting arena. And to go this far in 4 years is an incredible accomplishment. And I know how it is, you know, coaching girls can be a little, but I don't see that here. It's all one team for all and all for one. And I'm just so proud to be on this board, to see you all here. And at graduation, you were all so cute. You all had your uniforms underneath your gowns because you had to go play a game before you could even get across the field. So I, for one, am very proud of you, and I'm sure the rest of us here are. So as one coach, to former coach, to you and the others, we're all just so proud of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you for having us, and you're exactly right. It does take an army to make something like this possible, and it wouldn't have been possible for us without our administration. Mr. Little, Ms. Bieber, Ms. Gagnon, Mr. Champagne, all of them. We had to work because, as you know, they had graduation on top of the regional championship game, and so to be able to do all of that and make the game still happen and to be able to win it and to go to states, it was truly a remarkable experience. And I know they will never forget it because I will never forget it. But thank you all for your continued support and having us and recognizing them. I know they appreciate it. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Softball is definitely a champion sport. Last 3 years we've had state champs. So well, they could ranch twice and now Parish. So fantastic job. It's going to move us to item number 9, public comment. We have 3 general public comments signed up. First one is Deanna Brinkley. Oh, she did sneak in there. Deanna Brinkley, Alexandra Smith, following her.
Got anything to do with this? I'm guessing.
Do you want something on the overhead or no? The scanner, okay.
I'd just let her go.
Okay, and she's pass around, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I have a package for you later that includes more than that, but I just wanted to talk about some of the things coming up later on the agenda, some of the things that are going to be approved for curriculum. And right now, we are in a culture where businesses are being targeted and told if they don't implement DEI and gender policies, they will not get funding for their businesses. This isn't just about the culture within their company, it's being pushed into their products and delivered to the consumer without the consumer even knowing it or approving it. We saw this with Bud Light, Target, and Disney. We also see it in the curriculum products that have been purchased. But if it's in the culture of the company, we know that it is also immersed in the goods that they sell. Even local governments and municipalities are immune to this. HRC is a human rights campaign company that represents corporations. They send representatives into corporations and tell them what they have to make visible in their company, and they also give them a list of demands. If they don't follow these, they will be threatened that they will not keep their CEI, Corporate Equity Index score. So what is a CEI rating and why do they care? CEI is the national benchmarking tool that measures policies and practices. CEI is a primary driving force for workplace inclusion. Data from CEI shows employers' commitment to equality. If you do not have a good score, you don't get funding or investors. I was going to show on the overhead how the city of St. Petersburg has 100% CEI benchmark because of all the things, the boxes that they check. Some of the things are leadership and gender inequality, so they got 8 points for that. 22 points for their police liaison for gender and reporting hate crimes to the FBI. HRC is responsible for CEI, which is part of ESG, who makes companies adopt DEIs in their companies or they will fail. So the real issue is that all companies and publishers are not immune to these scores, whether they agree with it or not. It's all about the money. So we are now faced with what are our options to deal with companies, purchase curriculum and things like that that aren't beholden to investors and these scores. Because it's not so much just about, the correct curriculum, it's what is driving it. And it is coming from the federal government, it's coming from the WEF, the United Nations. So it's all about now immersing into the curriculum what is important, climate, diversity. It's not about just the basics anymore. And this is something that you guys will be dealing with now because we have a new culture that it's more important that the children learn these new concepts. So I'm just kind of bringing this to your awareness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexander Smith, followed by Brian Wilkes. Morning.
Morning.
Morning. My name is Alexandra Smith, and my son goes to Tillman Elementary. I spoke a few meetings ago about HB 1069. It has since been signed into law and goes into effect July 1st. There's lots in the bill, but what I'd like to put before you today regards your reviewed library media book list, a copy of which I provided the clerk. The new law states each district school board shall adopt and publish on its website the process for a parent to limit his or her students' access to materials in the school or classroom library. I've provided a copy of the provision to the clerk as well. As of this morning, there was no clear opt-out form or link on the district school library materials page, another copy I provided the clerk, though I assume you will fulfill this requirement by next month. In this provision, there is a surprising opportunity here for you to increase access to books for Manatee students. Your current reviewed library media book list includes 19 books that are available in various Manatee district schools. Of these 19 books, 14 require parental consent in some capacity. Since this new bill requires the district to create opportunities for parents to opt out of materials for their child, I request that this school board remove all parental consent requirements from classroom and school library media materials that are currently in place. Thanks to HB 1069, parents should now have an easy and clear way to communicate their personal censorship desires to the school system. I implore you to allow parental choice for their own child to be front and center. I believe you should put the onus on parents to instigate, communicate, and follow through with their parental choices for their kids. If a parent is afraid of what their child would be exposed to in the library materials, let's give them the agency to control their own child's access to those materials. In the meantime, I ask that you allow all the other students to check out any material in the school or classroom library by removing all parental consent requirements. You have a chance to simplify Manatee County students' access to materials for which I believe they already have a right to access. Please make any and all library materials an opt-out option for each parent on behalf of their own child. I implore the board to respect parental choice only insofar as it affects that singular family. Please protect the rest of our students from another family's fear. Separately, I would like to request clarification on the District Library Media Materials Committee. Your updated library media materials reconsideration procedure, a copy of which I provided, mentions 2 parents, guardians of current students will be on the committee. I would like to be considered for that subcommittee. Please explain how interested parents can apply for a spot and your vetting process for those applicants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Wilkes.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Brian Wilkes. I'm the athletic director here at Palmetto High School. I'm here today to request naming a portion of the existing facility at Palmetto High School, the basketball court. The person that we want to have named after is Kenny Ansbro. He's a longtime educator and coach in Manatee County and in the Palmetto communities. Coach Kenny Ansbro was dedicated administrator, educator, and coach in the city of Palmetto for over 30 years. Many of those years were spent at Palmetto High School, where he graduated in 1979. As a student, Kenny Ansbro was a multi-sport athlete, and he eventually returned to his alma mater to coach under the legendary Butch Hughes, who the gym is named after. Many would agree that the one strongest attributes of Kenny was unwavering devotion to students, faculty, staff, and administration. What I admired most about him was his roll up the sleeves and get it done attitude. At this time, I would request that you would allow us to name the basketball court at Palmetto High School Kenny Ansbro Court. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment, and I'm sure if anybody would like to, any of the board members in your final talk, if you want to talk on any of those comments, we definitely can. Moving to item number 11, consent item, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, Mr. Chair, before I move with the consent, I just got information that item number 39, which was a job description listed on consent for revision, is not correct. So I asked the board, I need to just pull it. I don't know what the issue is.
Okay.
But I think they attached the wrong information.
To the agenda itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. So just pull that completely. We'll fix it, bring it back at another meeting. So that is item number 39 on consent.
Okay, Laura, you have that? Do we need a motion? Do we need actually a motion and a
Think
second
you-
to approve
I
it? I
think
figured
you-
we do.
I think
Do
you,
we have a motion to pull item number 39?
So moved.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Are you on Granicus now? Okay.
We are? Good. So we got a motion, we have a second. Any discussion about that?
Just to be clear, this motion is only to remove this item from the agenda, correct?
Yes,
I just want to make sure that's clear for the public.
correct. Yep. All right, let's go ahead and, you don't have this on there, so we'll go ahead and vote by old school. All those in favor of removing item number 39, the revision of the job description of business systems analyst from the agenda, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No, none opposed, so that passes 5-0. Back to Superintendent Saunders for consent item.
yes, I now recommend the approval of the consent agenda as amended for June 13th, 2023.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
I will second.
I already seconded it.
Oh, was it already seconded on Granicus? This, we are able to vote on Granicus, I believe, right? You got it ready to go? We amended it. We voted to amend it. That's okay. You want us to do it again via old school? All right, perfect. All right, so for all those in favor of approving the amended consent items, please raise your hand. Say aye. Aye. No opposed. Passes 5-0. Moving on to public comment of new business items. Item number 12. I do have a speaker for item number 10. I do not see him in the audience. I'll call him anyways just to make sure he's not in the bathroom or something like that. Jack May, item number 10 on the public comment for new business items. Jack May. One more time. Jack May. All right. So we don't have any new business items that were pulled from the consent. Item number 13. So item number 14, new business, non-consent items. Superintendent Saunders, item number 1, approval of budget amendments for April 2023.
Yes, I recommend approval of the budget amendments for April 2023.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussions on this? I know Ms. Sellers is out.
Well, that her team is at the finance
Conference, yep.
Finance conference.
I do have the information if anyone has
Okay.
any specifics. I think it was kind of, general that was submitted.
Right.
But there were 787 budget amendments with 3,646 chart strings being affected. So, but most of the change, as you saw, the general fund balance increased by 1.9 million due to higher interest on investments, and some of the federal revenues changes with grants. Our capital outlay fund budget also increased by just shy of 10 million due to the reduced cost estimate for the K-8 school and miscellaneous adjustments, and also the debt service fund increased 47,000 due to interest income and a change of fair market value. So that was the rough reason why the changes occurred for these budget amendments.
Okay. Were there any other questions on the budget amendments that anyone would like answered? Seeing none. We've got a motion. We got a second to approve the budget amendments for April 2023. So if you go ahead and cast your vote. Ms. Spray, are you up?
I don't see anything on my screen, and I'm signed in, so,
Hit a refresh and see what happens.
all right.
You go back out to
Technology.
agendas
Yeah, I've done that.
and then click join.
I'm sorry.
I had the same issue earlier.
Yeah, I did this before. Okay, there we go.
I had the same thing. I had to rejoin. All right,
Yeah.
that passes
There we go.
5-0, and the budget amendments for 2023 are approved for April 2023. Item number 2, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval of the K-12 Comprehensive Evidence-Based Reading Plan, or SERP, for the 2023-2024 school year.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Superintendent, just, I don't see any speakers up, but just quick, what exactly is the SERP, just so everybody knows?
Yeah.
We've always been required to submit a reading plan for the district annually. The state did make some changes this year. They've recategorized it and required the board to approve the plan. So this item has been workshopped, and it does indicate all of the items or curriculum materials being used and the methodology for the tiered supports that any of our students that are non-proficient will be receiving to close those achievement gaps.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions on that, the SERP? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just want to thank staff because I know that was a heavy lift and a lot of work. I mean, the presentation in front of us was very thorough, which I also appreciated, but I just know the tremendous amount of work it takes to make it happen, so I just want to thank everybody for that. So, that's it.
Awesome. All right, so seeing no other board member lit up to speak, let's go ahead and vote.
I can't hear it.
And
All right.
it passes 5-0. Item number 3, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval of advertising a notice of intent to amend the Code of Student Conduct and setting a public hearing on the proposed changes at a board meeting scheduled for July 25th, 2023.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. This was workshop, just so everybody knows, this was workshop last week.
Right.
And so this is our 30-day notice for public to be able to take a look at it, and we won't actually talk about it again until that particular meeting. Anybody else with any comments about item number 3? Seeing none, go ahead and vote on the intent to advertise. Passes 5-0 is the approval to advertise the notice of intent to amend the code of conduct. Item number 4, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval of charter school renewal contract for Oasis Middle School for the 2023-2028 school years.
So moved.
A second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any comments on the approval of the charter school renewal contract for Oasis Middle for 23 to 28 school year?
And this is I'm sorry, I guess I should have hit request.
You're fine.
This is for a 5-year, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Ms. Messenger, do you have something?
I just wanted to remind the public and the board that we, when the intent to negotiate, I believe it was, is how it's titled, came before us, that's a new piece that came before us that I felt like had some thorough conversation about these pieces. I just want the public to be aware of that the board has had discussion about this at the time where it would have been appropriate to have those conversations when it came before us before.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had really good discussion. I don't know, a couple months ago, or
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
I remember.
Could have been a lot longer. I don't know.
It goes,
Time flies.
yeah.
But yes, we did have a good discussion, and obviously they've gone through everything that we needed from the district to renew their contract. So, seeing nobody else up to speak. Oh, actually, I can't click on it, but I do see one. Was that you or anybody? Oh, maybe that's when
No, I
you clicked on
probably
it.
just
Okay,
did not click.
I'm sorry. All right, so let's go ahead and vote on this item. And it passes 5-0 for the approval of the charter school renewal contract for Oasis Middle School for 23 to 28 school year. Item number 5, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval of charter school renewal contract for Imagine Charter School at Lakewood Ranch for the 2023-2028 school years.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I don't see any speakers lit up for this, so let's go ahead and vote on item number 14.5, and that is approved 5-0. Item number 6, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval of the charter school renewal contract for Visible Men Academy for the 2023-2024 school year.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item number 6? Yes, sir, Mr. Tatum.
Ms. Saunders, would you just remind us of that current school's grade, and then the process, hopefully they'll get better, but if they don't, how all that works, please?
Yes, sir. The past year, Visible Men was recorded and had earned an F school grade. So therefore, their renewal is for 1 year. This year, there will not be official grades earned, but this following, the next school year, there will be. So they do have an opportunity to improve their status for a continued contract of renewal. We know in statute that if they are an F for 2 years, the board would need closure. So therefore, the 1 year gives them that opportunity to improve. If they do not, it would close by itself.
Okay, thank you.
And is it fair to say that the district has worked with them and created a plan to make sure they get that?
We are all hopeful that they are doing the necessary work to make those improvements. We could see an improvement this year when, even with a tentative grade, it will not be an official grade, comes out later in the fall. But we do not have that information at hand now. So therefore, they do have an extra year to hopefully improve their status.
Great, thank you.
Just a couple of comments. We were given reports for the fast testing, and when I look down at visible men, I am concerned, as I have said publicly before, and this is just for a 1 year, and I would encourage that school to really do some deep dive in some of their processes, because I'm looking at third grade reading at 13 students tested at 23% at grade level. So that, you know, a turnaround, could there be? Yeah, there could be. But I have great concerns with the school. So I just wanted to make that publicly known, so.
Seeing no other speakers lit up, we can go ahead and vote. Item number 14.6. And it passes 5-0. Item number 7.
Yes, I recommend the approval of charter school contract for Manatee School of the Arts and Sciences, charter school renewal for the 2023-2028 school years.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comment on this item? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the charter school contract for Manatee School of the Arts and Sciences, renewal contract for 23-28 school years. And that passes 5-0. Item number 8, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval of charter school contract for Manatee School of the Arts, charter school renewal for the 2023-2038 school years.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item number 8?
Other than maybe remind the public why they are getting a 15-year opposed to just explain why they're getting a longer.
Some of the legislation has changed that gives the districts and the boards and the charter schools up to 15 years due to their past performance financially and academically. They would qualify for that extension. Okay. So their contract extension is for 15 years.
Okay. Just a little reminder.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted.
Great.
For the public.
I see no other speakers. We can go ahead and vote. And it passes 5-0. The approval of charter school contract for Manatee School for the Arts, renewed contract for 23-38 school year. Item number 9, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval of advertising a notice of intent to amend the student progression plan and setting a public hearing on the proposed amendments at the board meeting scheduled for July 25th, 2023.
So moved.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. I don't see anyone lit, but I will say this is something we discussed as well at the prior workshop. And this is just another 30 days for the public to read it and see it and comment to us before we vote on July 25th. So if we can go ahead and vote on item number 14.9. And that is approved by a vote of 5-0. Item number 10, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval to purchase Imagine Learning subscriptions, SDMC number 24-0031-BS, continued procurement with vendor estimated in the amount of $600,000.
So moved. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 9. And I had 2 speakers lit up so far. Mr. Tatum, you are first.
So on this item, as well as on the next item, some other items on the agenda, I have some concerns that the companies that we're working with are not necessarily in compliance with some Florida laws, such as HB 7 and other laws that we have. So then the question becomes, would I want to vote for these and move forward with them? And so I've had some discussions with our staff, and I believe that our staff is doing a good job of discerning what in these programs meets Florida state law and what we're going to use, as opposed to other things that those companies are doing. And if we go on their website and look at those companies, they are involved in activities that would not be in compliance with state law. However, as was the public speaker actually mentioned a little while ago, these companies are doing nationwide business, and so they have to some degree, have programs that are available for different parts of the country. And so I've looked at these items as well as some other ones in the consent agenda, and I've had intense discussions with the staff. And we're sending the messages to these companies that if you're going to do business in Florida, you have to be in compliance with Florida law. I actually was able to talk to some of these vendors at the conference last week where we were, and they're getting that message. But on the other hand, we do have to have things that are ready to move forward with as the school year comes, upon us here very quickly. And I'm just making the point that we should keep our eye on this. These companies need to do more to become in compliance with Florida law. There is a concern that, well, if you're doing these things in your company, is it filtering into our systems, into our material? But I'm confident that our staff is watching that. It's a little delicate dance that they have to do there. It puts a little more of a burden on them, but I appreciate the fact that they're doing it. And I'm just bringing that forward. I will go ahead and vote for these items at this point because on balance, I think it's what we need to do right now to move forward so we can get the school year going. But in the future, we need to keep an eye on these companies that are involved in activities that are not in compliance with Florida law. So those are the comments that I had to make. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Ms. Spray, you were lit up next, followed by Ms. Messenger.
I too had conversations with not only staff, but also people in the community, and they're watching. I just want everyone to know they're watching what programs we're buying, the values of the company that don't align with some of the values that we have. And as a community, not as a board collectively, but as a community, we put a lot of faith in some of these companies when we actually should be looking deeper at what some of their motives are. And some of them are not good. It's about the dollar. We can sell, and just keep renewing contracts and not looking at some of the things they're interjecting that we may not catch. Fortunately, we have a curriculum staff that is looking at anything that is available to our students. I feel confident that that's happening. However, I would say to anyone out there, if you saw anything in the classroom, feel free to reach out to any of us on this board. I myself would want to know what might be brought in. I think we've got a pretty good filter going on, if you want to call it that. That's what I would call it, a filter of what is available through some of these companies. But I will also say to the curriculum team, start looking at other companies that do share, the basics of education. That's what I've been about. Some of these companies are not, they're kind of wavering from that, and I don't appreciate it, but again, we have to have something for the school year. But I think the curriculum department is filtering out a lot of the things that our students should not have access to. But I would actually ask them to please start looking at companies that get back to the basics and have more values than some of these other companies. Because I was going to be a no vote until I had conversations. I was a solid no until I had conversations. So I appreciate the public commenter, and others brought that to my attention outside of here, and that's when you start scrambling to have these one-on-one meetings and get answers. So that's where I am with it, but I do want them to start looking at different companies.
Ms. Messenger, you were led up next.
Yes, I was here when the district first purchased the software, and I was excited because as a teacher, I use this program in my classrooms. And it's wonderful for ELL students. I don't think I've seen anything else like it. And so the focus to me should be what is the most appropriate and best product that we can have for our students that also meets the laws and the standards, of course. That is an expectation. But whatever product is the best for our students is what should be the goal. And having had this product in my classroom for my ELL students, I can tell you it was a very effective tool. There's a lot of computer programs that kids get exposed to, and they begrudgingly do them. Never this one. They were always excited to do it. It was engaging for them. It was effective. And that's what we should be looking for, is what's effective for the students. And this is specifically for our ELL students, which we know we have a high population of ELL students. So I just want to express my support for the specific programs and the specific products that the district is using. And as I said, like, I know that, you're going to pick whatever's the best and most appropriate for our students, as long as it adheres to the current laws and standards. So I just want to thank you.
I know I had a conversation with, as Mr. Tatum at the FSBA last week from Imagine Learning, and came away from that very confident about their company and where they're at. And as Mr. Tatum mentioned, these companies are doing business other than just the state of Florida. And there's other needs and there's other things going on there that they are going to do and not do. And I think if, as a business model, it's probably not smart to not adapt your curriculum to each state's requirements. And I think, secondly, the part of this too that, to me, as a district, we would not be, just to kind of ease away concerns, we're not going to introduce curriculum that is not approved by the Florida Department of Education. Period. The end. So if this is coming forward, and we spent almost a year vetting this process and looking at other things that are out there that do this, what this product does, and I did some research. I mean, I didn't dive into crazy like our curriculum, but this looked to me like it won the most awards, had the most significant success in the ELL department, and then this also happened to buy our Ingenuity curriculum that we use for what would you call it? Credit recovery. So I think that we have to not only trust our district, but also trust the Florida Department of Education. The legislature puts out the laws that we all have to abide by, and we should be. And then the Florida Department of Education then has to put those laws into action. And so they're looking at the curriculum that we choose and are saying this follows the laws or this doesn't follow the laws. So we wouldn't be able to choose a curriculum and have it approved by the DOE if it wasn't approved by them to begin with. So I think that it's being filtered multiple times before it ever gets to here for us to approve it. And I trust that the State Department of Education, who has their jobs from the governor and the legislature is passing those laws, I don't have a concern with where the company may be at and where we are at. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking at it every year, not only just from that standpoint, but is it effective, right? And is there something out there that's more effective? Absolutely, we should be doing that every year. I don't care if this never even came up. If this their stance on certain items never even came up, we should always be out there looking to see what's the best product for our students. We made some changes to some different things like that we've done. So we should always be out there focusing on what is best for the student. That also, like Ms. Medger said, you got to apply with what the laws are. But I think that these companies are going through multiple filters from the state level to our local level. But I agree with Ms. Spray. We should always be looking to see what's the best thing out there for our students.
I
Absolutely.
just have another comment, if I could ask legal.
We have Mr. Tatum lit up
Okay.
first, and
Go ahead.
then
Go ahead.
we can come back to you. Mr. Tatum?
Ms. Saunders, is this actually, when we use the word curriculum, is this actually curriculum or is this supplemental material?
It's a supplemental material that we
Okay.
use for tiered intervention.
Okay.
And the unique quality about this product, this software, is it is able to provide instruction in their native language.
Right.
So, and since we have so many students that are coming in to our school system not speaking English, it does scaffold their native language and builds the English foundation. And so that you're able to have an individualized lesson. As Ms. Messenger stated, there's not many products that's able to do that same thing. There are many products out there for tiered intervention, but that can apply their native language with it until they're able to speak enough English. Is the unique quality of this. It is supplemental. Their core curriculum is their standard textbook that they're using in their core classes. So this is their tiered intervention material.
So just, I guess from a legal standpoint, this isn't curriculum, because that's kind of somewhat of a legal word. Like, there's a whole different process to approve curriculum as opposed to just approving a supplemental product like these are. Is that correct, or is that not correct?
That is correct. The
Okay.
core curriculum, main textbooks. So curriculum department provides a lot of services and support materials. But the core curriculum is a very unique statutory process that the board goes through and picking the adopted textbook, etc. These are supplemental materials that are used for instruction. It is embedded in our CERT plan, our comprehensive reading plan as well, because in that plan, you have to list what your core curriculum is, but you also have to list what intervention tools you're going to provide your students to make sure those that are not reading on grade level are getting some additional supports, additional services. So when Mr. Choate said the state has to approve this, they do. We have to send them our plan, and if there was any aspect to it that they objected to, they would deny our plan and tell us, no, you cannot use that, et cetera, et cetera. So these are supplemental materials. It's not our core curriculum.
Okay, but there is still some state review apparently over the.
There is a state
product.
review. It is embedded in our comprehensive reading plan of tiered intervention, and the state has to approve our plan before we can implement our plan.
And then the last comment I had on this, a couple of people have mentioned the fact that, what's best for our students. And when I looked at some of the literature on some of these websites and in some of these programs, I'm concerned that it's not like the best literature that you'd want to put in front of our students. And, ultimately, I think education, on top of the vocational aspect of it, to get people ready for the workforce, there's an aspect of teaching wisdom and virtue. And that sounds philosophical, and it kind of is. But, I went down to the Classical Academy as I was doing some research here down in Sarasota. I said, what are y'all reading, down in your elementary level? And they're reading Aesop's Fables. And then when they get to 4th and 5th grade, they read Homer, and they read the Iliad and the Odyssey in a version that's, kind of brought down to their level. And that was part of my concern with these products, is that some of the literature that's in them is just not what I would call edifying, that builds wisdom and virtue. But there is some stuff in there too. And I know that, on the positive side, I know that our summer reading list has some good, if you go on our website, if you're looking for something good to read, there's some good stuff on the district summer reading list, as well as the state summer reading list. There's some good quality literature there. So we're making progress and we're moving in the right direction. I would just hope that we're looking for that really quality literature. Like Aesop, I went and did a little research on that guy. He wrote those fables somewhere in 500 BC, so they've been around for 2,500 years. And that's the wisdom of our culture that has been transferred for all those years. And I think part of our duty in the education system is to keep passing that wisdom along, as well as that classic literature which preserves our culture. So thanks for letting me make those comments, and that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Just real quick to that, though, I agree with what you're saying. But this particular curriculum are for those students that don't know how to read English and are trying to comprehend a new language. So I don't know if they're necessarily ready for that level. Now, they could be and hopefully will be, and we should introduce that. So I think this is more, we're trying to get them caught up for what they didn't learn, being whatever age they come into us. But I do absolutely agree to we should be pushing the best possible books, and it's not too what'd you call it, philosophical to ask that. Absolutely not. We should, but we got to recognize that this is not our overall reading for everyone. This is for the specific ELL groups. So Ms. Spray, you were lit up next.
Yeah,
I think it's something for Ms. Dye.
Yeah.
Mr. Dye.
yeah, I do. And I hope we're pushing English along very strongly with this program, whatever language that a student is looking at, that we're actually, look, 2 versions of this, your language, English language. But if, could there be any possible blowback in adopting programs like this from a legal standpoint at all? I mean, like they said, you know, it goes through the state and all of that, but maybe the state may have missed something. I don't know. I'm just,
Well, I'm not concerned about that, but
Okay.
it's a good question. You know, we're in a moment, we're in an era of change right now on especially the promotion of ideology, like critical race theory. You know, a year ago, you would have been hard pressed to find any governmental agency or corporation that did not promote critical race theory in their website or their HR policies. Had whole departments, had department heads spending, you know, millions of dollars. And so we're just at the beginning of that sort of change process. Getting to, you know, more specific on this topic, the compliance with the law, you know, as long as the curriculum does not contain prohibited statutory topics, you're fine. If that corporation, you know, is separating, you know, what's appropriate for each state. But, you know, I checked less than a year ago with the state universities' websites, and they still hadn't really changed their language on their websites in the state, you know, university system. That's all been defunded in this last legislative session. So it takes a while for stuff to finally work its way through. And so I wouldn't pause on things that are being recommended as a good product, effective product. I think the political and the ideological change will occur shortly over time.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
yeah, perfect. That's all I wanted to,
Thank you.
yeah.
Seeing no one else lit up, we can go ahead and vote on this item, 14.10. And that passes 5-0. The approval to purchase Imagine Learning subscriptions in the amount of $600,000. Item number 11, Superintendent Saunders.
Yes, I recommend the approval to purchase Pioneer Valley Products and Services, SDMC number 24-0042-BS, continued procurement with vendor, estimated in the amount of $675,000.
So moved. I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second on item number 11. I don't see any speakers lit up. Seems to be we already spoke on it in the last one. So let's go ahead and vote on the approval to purchase Pioneer Valley Products and Services, continued procurement, the vendor, estimated in the amount of $675,000. Did I get in there? Yep. And it passes 5-0. Item number 12, Superintendent Saunders.
I recommend the approval to use the state of Florida contract number 44000000-NASPO-19-ACS copiers and managed print services. SDMC number 23-0107-KD, continued procurement for products and services estimated in the amount of $1.6 million.
So moved.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. And before I see anybody lit up to speak, Ms. Saunders, could you just explain what this service does for us at the district?
Yes, these are replacements for our print shop. We have already worked on replacing some copiers in our school buildings, but we do provide a lot of print in bulk from our print shop, and so that is a replacement. And as we tend to do with printers, they have to be changed out every number of years. So that's what this is doing. It's a current contract to replace our print shop.
And I had Ms. Spray lit up to speak.
Yes, thank you. I pulled this from consent through Ms. Saunders because I wanted an understanding, because we had a meeting about the same contract in February. And I had a meeting with Mr. Hanson and Mr. Collins, and if Mr. Collins could come down and explain what print shop does, and share what you do for us in the district. I had a lengthy conversation with him and Mr. Hanson yesterday, so I thought it'd be a good thing for him to explain to some of us and some of the people that may not know what this is about.
So, Chair Choate, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Madam Superintendent, good morning. Thank you for having me. As Ms. Spray mentioned, back in February, we did submit before you a contract for the replacement of our copy machines in the schools. We operate about 292 of those. They had been in existence for 5-6 years, so it was time to replace them. And as we looked at the contract options to replace the equipment in our printing services department, Konica Minolta also rose to the top of those providers. So as is mentioned, what we do in the print shop is we do a fair bit of printing. We average around 1 million impressions per month on behalf of the district. Well over 80% of that is done on behalf of classroom teachers. So we produce classroom work, homework, booklets, workbooks for our children. In addition to that, we also do printing for district departments. So when you have a new hire orientation, the booklet that we send home with our new hires detailing all of the benefits is typically produced by printing services. And just many different things that we produce in the print shop on behalf of the district and teachers every month. So this contract is for replacement of those machines that we operate. We have 3 high-speed black and white presses, and we have 1 color press. And this proposal before you today would allow us to increase our production capacity by about 75%, and to do so without the addition of any additional full-time employees. So we think that's a great benefit for the district, and also integrating that platform with the copiers that we have in school through the same manufacturer brings us a lot of benefits that we're looking forward to that will simplify operations for our teachers as they order things through us, and also for the district as a whole.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Tatum, you were lit. Did you have a question for?
Quick question. Do we have like a print shop in the district that if we need copies of, above a certain number, then instead of just doing it on the local copper, we send it over to the print shop?
We do.
Okay.
Our print shop is located at the back of the Professional Services Center.
Okay.
We've had a print shop for many, many decades.
Okay.
And so if you have bulk copying that needs done, we have a storefront website similar to Amazon. You pop your document into the storefront, and it sends that document to us, and within minutes of that document being submitted, it's printed and ready to ship to you. So we're very happy of the core turnaround that we've been able to do. Anything that's ordered by a department or a teacher typically is in their inbox the next day at their school or their support site that next morning.
Okay.
So we do encourage the use of our print shop for bulk copiers. We have the local copiers that are there for urgent and emergent needs. But in order to help those machines last for the term of the contract and potentially longer, we always encourage folks to use printing services because those industrial-sized machines have a much better cost point for printing. They're more efficient, they're faster, they cost less to operate. So whenever you have a large copy job, we encourage folks to utilize printing services. They also do have the ability to use those copiers in schools as well.
Okay, great. And you're a school employee, right? You're not?
I am, yes.
Okay, and your name again, sir?
My name is Brian Collins.
What do you do
I'm
for
the
this?
coordinator of printing services, and in addition to myself in printing services, we have two young ladies who run our print equipment. They're very happy, very proud of the job that they do in support of education every day.
Great. Well, nice to make your acquaintance, and thank you
as
for
well,
your
sir.
information.
Thank you.
It's great to hear the quick turnaround, because I think when I was teaching it definitely wasn't that quick. I mean, there was no uploads. It was like you had to send it carrier, and then it was like a 7 to 10 day deal.
Yes, we've worked very hard to make this process as transparent and as easy upon the teachers as we possibly can. We've enhanced our storefront so that we get that back to you immediately the next day. And well over 90% of our printing is back to the person who ordered it that very next day.
Great. Guess that shows how old I am. Thank you. Any other question? I don't see anybody else lit up to speak.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
your
much.
information. Any other comments on this item? Seeing none. We had a motion in a second, I believe.
Nope.
And so we can go ahead and vote. I don't see,
I don't see
on my
a motion was made.
yeah, I don't see the motion button being hit. Oh, there it goes. Sorry.
Oh.
Patience is a virtue,
Gina did.
right?
Okay, Gina.
Yeah, no worries. And that passes 5-0 to approve the contract for our print services. Moving on to item number 15, which is new business, no superintendent recommendation. Item number 1, approval of the contract for the new superintendent for the school district of Manatee County. Of course, we workshopped this last week. We've gone through a very thorough process to pick our next superintendent, Dr. Jason Wysong from Seminole County. And we are ready for a contract has been given. He has signed. Mr. Dye, before we get into anything, is there anything you want to cover before we get into any kind of motion and all that sort of thing?
Yes, sir. I'll just do a little quick summary where we're at. Appreciate the board input on this through the process. Appreciate the chair's leadership in the negotiations. So the last version of the contract, which the board saw, is what Dr. Wysong signed with no further changes to it. And it's got a base salary of $235,000, no tax-free annuity. Auto allowance remain the same as with Superintendent Saunders, which is $650 a month. Health insurance, he'll be on the same plan and will pay the same contribution as any other of the employees. The board did grant him 2 months temporary living expense while he transitions and moves to Manatee County for a total of $4,000. And his moving expenses, he'll get up to $15,000 to cover his actual moving expenses. That's about it as far as the highlights. Assuming the contract gets executed, Dr. Wysong's making arrangements with Superintendent Saunders to spend days here at the district, starting to learn the job and issues that are going on that will help him be successful. He'll be compensated for his travel and just expenses while he's here, but not any kind of stipend or salary. Final thing is we left the start date, the July 3rd, which is the first Monday in July. For practical reasons, it really just worked the best. And the board, under this scenario, will appoint someone from the staff to just serve as acting superintendent over the weekend. So that would be Saturday and Sunday before the 3rd. And that will be on agenda for, I think, the June 27th meeting, where the board can.
We have that.
It's on this one.
It's on this one. It's the
It's
next
on
item.
this one.
Oh, is it on this
Yeah.
this one? Okay, well, you can do it right.
Acting superintendent.
You can do it right now.
That was the next
Okay,
item.
I apologize for
No,
that.
that's okay. That's
So
okay.
that, and then, final thing, we'll have a special meeting on that Monday, July 3rd, for the swearing-in ceremony for Dr. Wysong, and we've arranged for one of the circuit judges to do that.
And we haven't posted a time for that yet. And, I mean, obviously, we'll work with the judges' schedules and things like that. Obviously, I'm assuming morning,
Yeah.
the morning of July 3rd. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Was there anything else on the?
No,
contract?
if there's a motion, I would just recommend that it include authorizing the chair to execute the agreement.
Okay.
I'll make it.
So with hearing that recommendation on the motion, does anyone like to make a motion?
I move that we authorize the chair to execute the agreement of the contract of the new superintendent for the school district of Manatee County with Dr. Jason Wysong. Is that an appropriate motion? Is that
Yes,
how
ma'am.
you'd word it? Okay,
Yes,
just want to make sure I have everything in there.
I will second.
We got a motion, we got a second. For the board, any discussion? I do have two lit up. Well, I don't know, were we all lit up, or
Yes.
was it from last time? Okay. Mr. Tatum and then Ms. Spray.
I would just like to let the public know, as well as the board, during the conference last week with the Florida School Board Association, I had an opportunity to continue my discussions with Dr. Wysong. He does still exhibit that humble confidence that I mentioned earlier in a previous meeting, and I'm confident that he's going to be able to come in here and use that humble confidence to carry on the good work that the superintendent as well as her staff has been doing. So let's support him as best we can. If you see him, shake his hand, smile at him, as well as his family, and do whatever we can to make him feel welcome, both him and his family as human beings in Manatee County. So thank you.
Ms. Spray?
I just want to continue to advocate that once the chair signs the contract, that you have a conversation with him about posting his 100-day plan on our website. I think that would be beneficial to the district and everyone else. It's kind of the transparency, accountability part. I would ask that you would include that in a conversation.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he has a digital version that he could share and could be uploaded to the district.
Okay. Ms. Messenger?
Yeah, I don't want you to do that. I don't personally think he should necessarily post his 100-day plan. I think it's going to change as he knows everybody, and I don't think that's fair to him to start off on something where he did not know everyone, and that might change over time. I also think this is going to be his baby, and I think that he's going to have to find the best way for him to introduce himself, and for us to force that on him in this manner, I don't think is fair to him in the way that he should introduce himself. He might want to introduce himself via video. He might want to have different kinds of meetings. To put it out there as, here's my plan that I made several months ago before I knew you all, I don't think that's fair to him. I do think it's our job to hold him accountable, and I will hold him accountable, but I also will look at the context and the appropriateness of what he has given us, which I think was very thorough. I'm not saying that. But I do not believe that it's in his best interest, in our best interest, in the district's best interest to post that when that may not be what he wants. This is going to be he's going to be our CEO to run this business, and he should determine in which way he wants to introduce himself and his goals. And this may not be the best way. In fact, I truly do not believe this is the best way for him to make his introduction or state his goals. And a lot of that was back-end things that were for us to know. I'm going to meet with these people at this time. I'm going to meet with these people at this time. That's for us to know. We can always talk to him and say, hey, I see that you said in week 3 you're going to meet with these certain people, and ask him how that went. And he might say, well, I actually didn't do that because I found out there's this, and this, and now I want to meet with those people instead. I do not believe it would be fair to have that posted. I think there are other ways that he could introduce himself that are better and more effective than that. And I think we should allow him to have that opportunity.
Thank you. I will say that you bring up good points that it's definitely something that could move, and it's obviously a living, breathing 100-day plan. Would it be for the board? Would it? And there that wasn't so that was not in the motion for him to post that,
No.
of course. But it would be satisfying to the board for me to ask him how he would like to introduce his 100-day plan, and then let him contact you all to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, or do we want to allow that to play out when he gets here July 3rd? He's obviously going to meet with us one-on-one anyways. I mean, I'll do it privy of the board. So Ms. Spray was lit up, and then Ms. Messenger.
Mr. Wysong spoke about his 100-day plan, I believe, in his video, if I remember right, that was submitted. I can't remember, and I think he also mentioned what his plan was. And I kind of agree with portions of your statement because things have changed since then. Staff has changed since then. So I can see her point, but I also, you know, it was a plan, not just specific to the board's, only the board's access to see that. I think it was mentioned during his online interview, his in-person interview as well. So that's why I'm asking if he would, he can modify it if he wants. I mean, obviously, you look through that, it starts July 1st. Well, it can't go July 1st. He's not going to be here until the 3rd. And I want I didn't think when we did all of this, his start date was supposed to be the 1st. Well, that ends up being a holiday weekend. You know, I didn't look that far ahead, so that's why we have the next agenda item. But I think it would be good to have some sort of progression plan for, we expect it from our students, we expect it from our staff. I don't think it's out of line expecting it from our new superintendent. Again, he can modify it. It's a conversation you can have with him. I mean, I'm not hardcore saying he needs to post it. I'm saying we probably should list something.
Okay. Mr. Tatum, or I'm sorry, Ms. Messenger, and then Mr. Tatum.
So we hired him to be the leader. I think we should allow him to lead. I think if there's a manner in which he wants to introduce himself, I am 100% sure he is an intelligent and thoughtful person. I am very confident that he will have an effective way to introduce himself and lay out his plans. I'm not convinced that doing it in this way is the most effective way. And I think we hired him to be that leader and to do that. I don't think we need to determine which way that is at this moment. I don't think it's fair to expect him to even determine what that is at this moment. He hasn't even had the opportunity to sit down with our current superintendent and really understand more of the lay of the land rather than what he's been able to observe via all of his research. And he's done a ton of research. But I just don't think that that's fair to him, nor is that what we hired. We didn't hire him to put this plan out. We hired him to lead. We hired him so allow him to do it. That's my only point there.
Mr. Tatum?
I would just leave it up to him as the leader. You might say something like, a suggestion was brought up by a board member that you might want to post your 100-day plan. And if you'd like to do that, great. If not, I would leave it up to him as his leadership decision.
Thank you.
I didn't make the motion to post it.
No, I know.
I just made a suggestion.
Ms. Foreman?
Yeah, his 100-day plan is really almost like a to-do list. You know, when he's going to do it and what he's going to do. And to hold him to it is counterproductive, I think. Instead, and we had a brief comments about this out of the FSBA meeting or conference last week, and that is it's far more important, I think, that we have a discussion with him on the strategic plan and his performance goals for the next year. And that would be appropriate. The fact that we have a strategic plan that he and two of our board members were not really involved in constructing it would be, you know, I think we need to have a discussion soon. I spoke with someone, with Ms. Cook, Carol Cook from FSBA, because she'll be doing the master board training, and said, do we do it before master board, after, you know, she said she recommends that we have our first day of master board training, and because that will help us solidify our communication styles, and then to discuss strategic plan among the board, and there's wisdom in that. So I, you know, I would much rather see effort around the strategic plan and its performance goals for the first year.
Yeah, that's exactly what Carol told me too. That would, the first meeting, and then jump into that stuff as we go through the master board training. So I'm under the impression that the board would just like to leave it up to him, but knowing that I think we all want him to introduce himself and all that sort of thing, and here's some goals, here's some things, but let him kind of choose the way in which he wants to do that. And I do agree, it's sooner than later. You know, don't wait till September, but let him have a chance to come in, meet some folks over the next 2 weeks, that he will be able to do that, and maybe does critique some things and change some things. And then over the next 2 weeks, he'll be able to learn kind of more about the strategic plan and what it is, especially from the department heads and that sort of thing. So nobody else is lit up to speak. So let's move back to it. We have a motion and a second for item number 15.1, approval of the contract for the new superintendent for, to, what was your motion? You want to say your motion again or read it out? To,
Oh, I forget the.
that's why I'm asking you to do it.
action word that I used that he.
Authorize the chair.
Authorize the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, to authorize the chair to initiate the contract for the new superintendent, Dr. Jason Wysong, for the school district of Manatee County. That is the motion. We had a second. And so we can go ahead and vote on that motion now. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to item number 2, new business, no superintendent recommendation, appointing acting superintendent for July 1st and 2nd. Of course, this came up as we were talking about the gap just there for the 2 days. You know, if a hurricane were to come, anything like that, discussion with Mr. Dye, Superintendent Saunders, obviously we have some staff changes as well. So my recommendation would be that Mr. Willie Clark is our acting superintendent for the 1st and 2nd. Mainly because if there was any hurricane, which I think is probably the number one concern, if there's any hurricane we need to schools, that's his area is over schools. And also, you know, Mr. D'Amico is going to be there like he does in every single act of God that happens like that or any kind of emergency. So my suggestion is we appoint Mr. Willie Clark as the acting superintendent for July 1st and July 2nd of 2023.
I have a question before I would make a motion.
Yep.
Has Mr. Clark been asked and has he accepted this?
Yes.
We're not foisting upon him.
You're voluntold? No,
Yeah, I don't
no,
want
we
to.
did ask.
Volunteer.
We did ask.
Then I make the motion that we appoint Willie Clark as our acting superintendent for July 1st, 2023 and July 2nd, 2023.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second, so let's move to discussion. Ms. Spray was lit up first.
Yeah, I didn't have a discussion with him. I didn't even think of that kind of thought process. But it was a busy week and weekend for me. I did have a conversation with another staff member. There's not gonna be any kind of stipend for this 2 days, is there? It's just, okay. Because that was like, oh, what are you gonna, trust me, people bring these things up to you. And I'm like, I really don't think somebody would do that for a 2-day appointment like that. So I just wanted to make that known to the public that Mr. Clark is quite capable of doing this for the next 2 days, or that timeline. We'll pray that there's no big disaster, no hurricanes
Hopefully no
coming.
phone call or anything like that.
Right, not even,
All
nothing,
good to go.
nothing.
Stay at the barbecues for.
And everybody's out on vacation with their holiday.
We should all bug him just because he's not out.
Yeah, let's get
He'd
his,
love
yeah, we'll bug him just because, so.
He'd love it.
Yeah.
He'd love it. Yeah. So I don't have any other speakers lit up, so we have a motion and we have a second. So we can go ahead and vote for appointing Mr. Willie Clark as acting superintendent for July 1st and July 2nd of 2023. And that passes 5-0.
Good choice.
So we moving on to workshop. I know Miss Foreman just brought up the master board training. So in talking with Miss Cook, when we set the first meeting, at that first meeting, we'll set the rest of those based on our calendars as we sit there and look at that. So I know that's not on, as we look at our calendar, it's not on there. But it is something that is planned. So I think that obviously, you know, we're kind of at a tween time because we want Dr. Wysong to have input on that as well, on when the date is and that sort of thing. So I think we can do that via us five emailing Miss Cox and talking to Dr. Wysong about when he's setting that first date up. And for me, my suggestion would be in July, right? Let's jump into it and do that first meeting in July. So that way we can then schedule the rest as soon as possible. So, but I don't want to sit here and make a date and Dr. Wysong is told, so I want to be able to work together to make sure we're on the same page. So that's why we took it off of that board communications. It was, for the past several months, it's been on that July 27th workshop. And this is its own workshop. This is not a workshop that is with everything else. So at the board, if you all don't mind, I think communication with Dr. Wysong, we can communicate dates and times through Ms. Cox to kind of get a date. Maybe we can do like what are those things called? A doodle survey? Like the dates and whatever. I think it's called doodle. I don't know if it's called doodle or not.
That's a dog.
I know Labrador. Yeah, they're expensive too. If the board's okay with that, we'll work with Dr. Wysong and try to get that scheduled as soon as possible. Other than that, obviously these have been on here for a while. The ones that are coming up. We've got some updates on the audit committee impact fee workshop, budget on the general fund, which will conclude our budget process, which we'll have all three done. July 27th, we put on there the legislative priorities discussion. I wanted to add that in twofold. I want to make sure that Mr. Chapman, I know that your name is there. I want to make that twofold. I want to make one out if we can get obviously what has happened, you know, a recap from either Mr. Foster or Sean or Andrew, whichever one on Zoom is fine, obviously. But I'd also like to incorporate that there was some discussion that if we can get to our priorities for the next legislative season, which starts in January, so this is the year that it's jumped up a little bit early, if we can get to that earlier than normal. There was some, because we happened to see Andrew, so over at the FSBA, he mentioned, do you want to do it earlier than that? Like, do you want to do it earlier in July? I don't know with the 4th of July week, then with our workshop for the first meeting of a master board training, can we fit in another workshop when we already have one at the end of July? So, yeah, Mr. Chapman, go ahead. Come on. You may have already had communication with them.
I did. We could speed up the process by, I could meet with you, through Laura Cox, individually and talk about your priorities and kind of come up with a little bit of a master list so that when we come to the workshop, we're a little ahead of the game a little bit. Maybe there's some consensus on a few things and,
You have a list of 3 or 4 or 5, whatever.
yeah, and that way that way we can get to that final priority list at that July board workshop and be ready to go to give to Andrew and to Sean.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you. I think that's great.
I mean, the master board training, is that done here?
Yes.
And they come here
They come
and it's a series of public, or is that a?
It's
okay.
public, yeah, public. Can
I didn't know how,
But it's not,
how that
if I
worked.
remember correctly, it wasn't like public comment. It's not like a workshop like that, but they can come and watch.
All right.
I think Mr. Nelson,
It is open to the public. We tend to have it in a different room,
Okay.
203. The public can certainly come and sit, but there's no public comment.
All right, all right.
It is a conversation of work with the board and the superintendent and the trainer. It does last a series of days, so you can pick the first and then y'all will set how frequent you want
How
the
many
next
days?
ones to occur.
it's like 4 total.
I
One full
believe
day,
it's
3
for, yes, I do think July is a great time, because school starts in August, which is, the month of August is very busy
Yeah.
for the new superintendent. It would be great, he will be here today and tomorrow, working with staff, meeting staff and meeting with me in the afternoon. We want to make sure it doesn't overlap on the instructional workshop days that are in the summer either, that we've already got aligned. So I'll sit with the calendar. Hopefully this week, he can lock down what's good for him and get with Laura, then she can communicate with each of you. But probably before school gets back running and being mindful of everybody's vacation time, July to start it off is probably optimum for everybody.
Okay. Ms. Foreman, you were lit up.
Yeah, on the list of the workshops, the audit committee update on June 29th, we have to approve the engagement letter from CRI before July 1, so that they don't have a big lag in getting work done, since audit committee only meets every 2 months. So I have requested, I double-checked with Dr. Agruso, and I requested of the superintendent that she do her presentation at the meeting on June 27th, okay, the evening meeting. And then we will add to the agenda to approve, because the audit committee will make a recommendation to approve the CRI engagement letter. And then we can add that to the agenda after her report to approve it.
So then take it off. You're on.
You mean
No,
July
it's not gonna,
27th?
so yeah, we don't have it on,
Just take it off.
we don't need it on the 29th.
Okay.
So.
Because we've obviously got some audit committee procedures that we have not gotten to that I would like to get to, especially for the new board members, things like that. So we have some other stuff we can, but that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's fine with me to put it on the June 27th. Is that what it is?
Yeah, yes, on the
2 weeks
June
from now?
27th
Yeah.
meeting, take it off the
Yeah.
workshop.
Okay, but on the June 29th workshop,
She'll be gone.
right, but, yeah, I get that, but I'm saying we need to add the CFOC report as well.
Are they ready?
They're ready. I'm almost positive they're ready. I think they were gonna communicate with you that they had everything done. If you could reach out to the chair to make sure.
So let's just replace it, yep.
Yeah,
We can replace the CFOC?
Sounds good.
right, yeah, replace it with CFOC instead for the workshop to present, and then down to the next meeting, which, when is our next meeting after they present?
After they
July.
present, the end of July.
End of July, right, and
July
that's what we,
23rd.
and that's what we talked about. I gave them the dates of when they could present it for the workshop, which was the 29th, and
approve
that
it
they
July.
could, right, and we could, right, July 20, is it the 23rd?
Oh, no, 27th is a Thursday. So it's the 25th.
Right, right, yeah, 25th, the evening meeting.
I forgot it's a Thursday because of,
Yeah.
okay.
So if
sounds
we
good.
could put them into that, and that also leads me to asking about open seats for that committee. I think there's 2 or 3 open, one fell off because of attendance, the other member had passed away. I'm not sure how we appoint, or do they have to apply? I looked on the website, I even looked, I'm like, okay, where do you apply? Because I remember when I came on the committee, I applied to be, so is there a link on there that I'm missing?
We're putting, there was information about it, but there wasn't a link to apply.
Okay.
But we are putting that on per your request.
Thank you.
But the process is people would send their application of intent and resume, and then it goes before the board. It's first vetted by the liaison.
Right.
And then it's brought before the board, and the board votes whether, to put them on the committee or not. So that's the process.
Okay, I kind of communicated, that's how I thought it worked. So, yeah, that's good. Thank you, because I kept looking, I'm like, it's on the website, I remember it being a link. So if Ms. Cox could communicate that to the chair and anyone else on the member, if they have, or the board even, if you have a person that you might want to reach out to apply. I have someone in
I'm
mind.
assuming it's gonna be under like school board.
Yeah.
And then
CFOC, and then,
the next
right,
thing. Okay.
yeah. So,
All right, great.
yeah.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else lit up to speak, we will move on to
Let me take one name.
no more public comment, of course. Item number 18, updates. Legal updates, Mr. Dye, anything for us?
Yeah, I have a real quick summary I'll run through. I just attended the Florida School Board Association, Attorney Association Spring Conference for new members. As part of my contract with the board, the district provides membership in this association and covers expenses for our participation in it. So it's a valuable resource. The spring conference particularly full of content because of the end of the legislative session. This year there was a massive amount of legislation related to school items, and I'm sure you guys will also be exposed to that as the year goes on, and you get your own summaries from the board association and also from the school board superintendents association. Who their attorney actually is one of the members of our association, and he did the presentation. His summary was 190 pages long, to just give you some idea, and that was about 1 page per statute. So that's how big it is. Earlier comments to Ms. Spray, there's a time lapse between the legislation getting adopted and then it actually getting implemented into our policies. So we're going to go into that process. You're going to see a lot of changes in our policies, I predict, over the next year. Neola's going to have to jump in and implement all the changes that were made. So you'll be seeing that process. May take more than a year. Real quick, the attorneys that I'm recommending that we join to participate in the social media litigation, they actually did a presentation at the conference. I'm convinced we do want to pursue that with them, and I've advanced that agreement onto the next regular board meeting for June. So there's no good reason to delay that any longer. It's better to be in early. But they've done an excellent job. They're the actual trial attorneys in the Jewel case, and they're the actual trial attorneys in the social media litigation. So they're not just attorneys that join on the bandwagon. They're the ones that actually go to court and are the real lawyers, we like to say. So that's coming up. Legislative update, just some quick highlights. The social media is now by law banned from any district devices or servers or our whole system. So that's all of them, including TikTok. And I think TikTok's kind of banned from anything in Florida. There's going to be a little bit of a problem because our security people are going to need to monitor social media for security reasons. And I don't think the legislature thought of that because that's where a lot of this stuff, security stuff, gets posted, you know, against our rules, but that's where it ends up. And so it can still be on everybody's personal device. It just can't be on the school servers. And we'll have to see if the legislature does a glitch bill and carves out an exception for security. So that's kind of interesting. The cell phones, that's going to be a big issue. When that came up, the whole room lit up. I mean, they're a problem. And I'm going to research that and get back to you with some recommendations on that. It also ties into the social media litigation. That the argument is that the social media is actually causing not just distraction, but mental health issues and all kinds of problems, not just in adults, but in children, especially in female children. So the cell phones, big deal. Probably going to be, I think we'll probably be looking at our policy on that. And some of the districts are banning them altogether, bell to bell. And they said their problems, their discipline problems, just drop to nothing in the classroom. But parents like to be able to contact their kid, you know, during the day. You're going to soccer practice, whatever. So there'll be pushback on that. But I'll try to put together and send you some other district policies and procedures you can look at on that and start analyzing it. But it's driving everybody crazy. And also probably recommending we don't touch a cell phone if a student's violating the policy. They still get in trouble, but we don't actually grab their device because of the reasons y'all talked about, dropping it, getting accused of breaking it, whatever. So there's ways of handling that without taking control, like a bailment of their device and getting accused of damaging it. African American history, the state law got changed on that. There's kind of a review committee the state's put together so they didn't get rid of it. They're looking at how it's being done, how it's being implemented. I suspect next session there'll be more on that. Charters, a lot of changes with the charters, a lot more requirements districts have to do for the charters. And charters, one thing interesting is if they drop in grade level, they lose funding from their capital funding. Also some speculation, we may see more private schools pop up now because with the money following the child, you may find groups that can't get charters approved because they just can't go through the process and get approval. They'll form private schools and still get the state money. Don't get all the money, don't get like the capital stuff and things like that, but you may see that. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that. They still get like eight or 9,000 per student per year. There's a mapping grant that's kind of interesting. Probably Paul will want to follow up on that for security. State's going to give you about $3,500 per school to do maps that get distributed to police and fire and emergency people so that they see the basic layout of every school and where the doors are and all that stuff. So that's kind of good.
Sorry, don't want to interrupt, but on that note, at the FSBA, what is it? Centegics, they mentioned that, and
Yeah.
you know where you hit the buzz, like where you hit it, it's gonna be we're gonna be able to see exactly where you hit it, what classroom, what building, etc. So that's great.
So 3,500, not that much per school. So that, staff can analyze that. You can violate the class size amendment this year without penalty. You're still violating the law, but you don't pay a penalty. So it's recognizing the shortage of teachers. Negligence statute, which is a Bill Kelly thing, they attempted to change it where the statute of limitations goes from 4 years to 2 years for someone to bring a suit against the school district, but they accidentally left in 4 in one of the provisions, so it's confusing now, whether it's 2 or 4. We'll say it's 4, we'll say it's 2, but they'll say it's 4. So that's kind of interesting thing. And that's my report. So,
Very good.
Thank you.
thank you.
Operations, Mr. Wagner.
Mr. Wagner.
All right, let's see. Good morning. Good morning, Chair Choate, members of the board, Superintendent Saunders. I just have 4 items today. Number 1, just an update from our last board meeting last week. So it's interesting, we had an operations board meeting. We had 43 applicants show up, which is a great number for the summer. We actually had 23 offers, 6 for food service, 6 for custodial, and 11 for transportation. So that was encouraging. Unfortunately, with transportation, we ended up with 9 aides and 2 drivers. So I wish the numbers were switched around, but at least we're getting people in. Tomorrow we have another job fair. It's a virtual job fair with a platform we called Brazen. We've used it for a couple of years now. So we have candidates registered already for that. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we can grab some teachers tomorrow for vacancies that we have open. Number 2, so MTC spring graduation. It's 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock on June 29th. Unfortunately, I believe we have a board meeting for the same time that graduation is, so you won't be going to the 10 o'clock one, but if you do come to the 6 o'clock one, make sure you get your gown from Ms. Cox. She has them, and so we do wear gowns for that. June 26th is the Monday prior to that, and we have law enforcement graduation at Parish Community High School. There's no official gowns that are worn for that. It's just business attire. So that's a Parish at 6. And the last one, number 4, a big thank you goes out to our transportation and food service teams. So as you know, they're off for the summer. So we have all the food service and transportation employees off for the summer. I just want to say thank you all for working so hard. They've done a great job this year. Shorthanded as we were, they chipped in and we had a great year. So that's my update. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I just had one question. Are we doing the buses and feeding children this year?
We are. Yep, we are doing that. That's on our website also. We have 11 sites around our area, and so parents can go on there and see where the buses are, and also we have them in our school sites as well. So we have them
Is
around.
that being handled by our
It is.
transportation and food service people?
Well, so it's had by our food service people, work in the cafeterias and prepare all the meals elsewhere and then bring them on the mobile sites. So, yep, we have those, and we've actually had a good turnout so far. So the word is out there. People are, and members for 18 years old or younger can participate, no cost.
So not everybody got the summer off.
Yeah, right. We still have we actually have about 100 food service people working still this summer. So,
Thank you.
all right, yes, sir.
Can you give us an update on where we are in negotiations and with the transportation people and trying to?
Yeah, so we did. We had a preliminary meeting yesterday with the Ask Me team at the Wakeland Support Center, and so negotiations will be ongoing during the month of June this month, and we'll see how far they have to go. If they have to go into July or August, we will see. But we have started conversations with them.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Instructional, Superintendent Saunders?
Yes, summer's very busy for all of us, really. I just want to make folks aware that SOAR and 4 will be hosting an event on July 5th from 5:30 to 7 p.m., partnered with MCR Health at the Bishop Museum of Science and Nature, and it's a back-to-school bash. So, yes, you're saying July, back to school. We start early because school starts early in August. So that really does begin getting parents prepared and children prepared for supplies and so forth that they need and registering for schools. In addition, we have our Dive into Reading partnership plan with Anna Maria Oyster Bar. They have hundreds of volunteers working with our Title I schools and providing such wonderful support and mentors to help with our literacy needs. In addition, our Title I schools this year have been able to take field trips to Anna Maria Elementary School and participate in the Guy Harvey equipment and materials. So that has really been exciting, and we've kind of partnered and tied all that in with our Dive into Reading program as well. We have many programs at elementary, middle, and high going on. If you're credit recovery for secondary, that's occurring at every secondary school. We had third grade reading camps for those students that may not have been proficient per statutory guidelines at the end of the school year, so they still have an opportunity to be promoted to fourth grade before the summer ends. So that is going on. And in the month of June and July, we have a lot of performing arts events occurring with choir, art, band, theater, and orchestra. So summer is busy, 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 not to mention all the athletic camps occurring at our high schools and some of our middle schools. So summer is the rest for some, but really it's a 12-year cycle, a 12-month cycle. School's still going. My superintendent comments is, please mark your calendars if you haven't done so for our aviation maintenance groundbreaking ceremony at SRQ. It's on June 29th at 2 p.m. So what does that mean? All of our workshop items that we have that day have to end by 1:30. 1:30. So we can make our groundbreaking ceremony on that day. We also have our summer leadership conference for principals and administrators, and that's occurring on July 17th and July 18th, which is why I wanted to get with Mr. Wysong for your meeting, because that's already been planned and so forth. And also be mindful that June 19th is a non-work day in observance of Juneteenth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Foreman, you were first for board comments?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Wanted to let the board know I met with Serge Jorgensen at Silent last week before, and he's putting together the engagement letter, coordinating a little differently this time. He's going to be he's talking with Mr. Hanson at IT about taking the non-audit functions and doing that as a separate engagement letter for the district to sign, and then we will get an engagement letter that just has the audit functions and reports that he does. So and we need to have that on the agenda for the June 27th meeting, okay? Because we can't have a lapse in cybersecurity coverage, so so we need to do that. Last week we attended the FSBA conference and had some good stuff. It was, it's a much smaller conference in the summer, but I attended one session, which was interesting, about board and superintendent communications. And they had it was a panel discussion, and everybody does it a little differently. So that was put me on alert that we might be seeing some changes. And then the Florida Department of Education was there to answer some questions, mostly about testing. And then Mr. Choate and I attended an interesting one about Polk County. They have a new program and a new initiative on tutoring, but they don't have results back on it yet. So they did promise to send me the results when they're out, which is going to be in a couple weeks. So, but it was an interesting concept. Dr. Wysong was, like someone said, he was at the FSBA conference as well, and it was really nice to get to spend some time with him, get to know him a little bit, and obviously very excited about him coming. I think it's going to be. I ask everyone to embrace him, you know, and just give him some time to get his feet on the ground. And finally, this one is really, really sad, but Mr. Norm Nelson, who is a member of our community who attended board meetings religiously for probably the last 10 years. He has always come when he was physically able to, sat in that second row aisle seat. You always saw him on camera. Sometimes, one time, I don't think it was more than one time, he was wearing a referee shirt, had the whistle, and he kept us on our toes. He would critique us, compliment us, but he was always incredibly pleasant, kind, and he passed away about a week and a half ago. We had an opportunity, he did attend Miss Saunders' reception on that Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday, and then he passed away Saturday morning. But for him to, in poor health, to come to her reception, just, it was really special. And anyway, gonna miss him tremendously. Our sympathy to his family and to his friends and to people who knew him in the district. We're all gonna miss him. And I am going to ask that we put on the agenda for, in 2 weeks, to in some way commemorate that seat. That becomes the Norm Nelson seat. And either put a little, in fact, we kind of joked about it at the reception when we were talking with him. And told him he needed to, we're going to put his name on that seat and he needs to watch the board meeting so he can see it. But either, I don't know, Mr. Chapman's going to work it out, but I would like it on the agenda so that we approve putting.
And dedicate
That seat for Mr. Nelson.
Was that it?
Yeah, and then I'm on my way this afternoon to join Ms. Sellers and a couple of other people in the district attending the finance conference, which will be going on through the rest of the week. And I'm looking forward to it. It's very much nitty-gritty, you know, finance, but it's really, it's enjoyable, so.
Good.
Thank you.
We'll see travels.
Thank you.
Ms. Messenger, you were next.
It's enjoyable to CPAs. You didn't finish the rest of that sentence.
Enjoyable to CPAs, yeah.
You know, I just like to reiterate all that you said about Mr. Nelson. I always really enjoyed him, so he will be missed for sure. I don't really have anything else other than I think you did a great job running our meeting today, and I think it was very efficient, and I think you did a really great job. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Tatum, you were next.
Yes, I'm going to pound the safety hammer again. You know, unfortunately, apparently, we had a student pass away within the last week or so. I believe, unfortunately, he drowned in a pond, so in our district, and then we had the teacher that passed away, and these are all safety-related events. You know, these are things that could have been prevented. So I know my wife and I were going out for a bike ride over the weekend, and she said, "Should I bring my helmet?" And I was like, "Yes." Because it's like your seatbelt, you know, you don't know you need it until the moment that you need it, and you don't have time to go get it when you need it. So just all the little things, like you never know. I don't know, you know, if the teacher that passed away, walking at night, or, you know, I actually have these little things on my shoes that sometimes I ride my bike at night, and they're little lights that flash on my shoes. But some of those things can really be the difference, whether somebody sees you or not, that kind of thing. So keep up those safety actions. And then I'd also encourage us to keep reading. You know, over the summer, if you're in the education world, we know that over the summer students tend to lose their skills. So if you want to play some math games and work on your, you know, times tables, or keep on reading, whatever you can do. That is one good thing that these cell phones and media devices can do. You know, there are activities and things for children to do to keep up their reading and their math skills. As far as the book challenge process goes, Ms. Saunders, how will we go about making sure that we update our process to make sure it's in compliance with the new requirements of the law?
Yes, we have a whole process as soon as, all the legislation's done in cabinet. Mr. Chapman is kind of the keeper of it, but we put every one of the new bills, what department it applies to, who owns it within the department, and we go over it once a week in every cabinet meeting with a timeline of when they're supposed to be updated and enacted. So some of those things have to be immediately, starting in July. So those will be the first tiered. Some of the new laws will go into effect a little bit later. So it will be a whole process, at least through the first half of the year, making sure that all the changes have been put into place. There are some safety provisions that came down in legislation that go into effect July 1. So some of those are already occurring right now. So they will update the procedures, update the websites, and then communicate to the principals and to staff what those new changes are. So, but Mr. Chapman will have a whole list, and we'll be glad once we have it formulated to send to you so that you will know, here's the bill, abbreviated, here's the department it affects, here's the person who owns it, here's the date that it's due, and then in cabinet, we see the evidence that it's been put into place.
Okay. And then approximately how many summer school students do we have? I'm just curious, do you know off the top of your head if you had to, is it hard to say?
No, it's hard to say. Elementary, because we have many camps going on. We have many programs. Third grade reading, I'd say we probably have about 600 students. But then we have other camps that they're allowed to come to for enrichment. So I don't have the exact number, but we can gather it because there is attendance, because we have teachers hired, we have meals provided, so I can gather that, but we have a lot of different programs, K to 12 going on, but I'll have staff pull together a guesstimate, a best guess of what we have, so that you know.
And
Sure.
do we have actual summer school classes where you can go get credit if you want to take up
Yes,
algebra
well,
or math or something? Or
it's for credit recovery, not for online first-time student enrolled in a course.
Okay.
Those aren't being provided in our secondary level unless you're doing it online. But in terms of coming to school to make up a credit, those are being offered in our middle and high schools right now.
Okay, to make up a credit means unfortunately a student didn't pass a course or something and they get a second shot at it.
Pass it or moved in and have not received that credit yet needed, so they're trying to catch up to be on the appropriate grade level moving forward.
Okay, and just a curiosity question. I know when I was in high school, my parents made me go take gym over the summer so I could knock out my gym credit. And there were other opportunities. You could take English or, I don't know, knock out a math class or something, but we don't do that in this district for people. There are not classes offered over the summer to knock out a credit towards your graduation requirements or anything like that? Or?
You can online.
You can online.
Not face-to-face, brick and mortar teacher situation. Most of those are done online now.
Okay. And when I ask this question, I'm not asking it because I think we should be doing it or why aren't we doing it. I'm just, why do we not do that as a way of doing business? There's probably a reason. It requires too many teachers. It's just not feasible. I don't know. Or we just have do districts in Florida do that, or is that something from my past that really hasn't been a thing in the last 20 years or so? Or
you don't see in most cases now the demand of willingness for the students to come in and take it in that approach. Okay. Since online courses are allowed, many students in the secondary realm, if they want to take an extra course and knock it out, they would prefer to do it online. We do offer driver's ed where you come in because you have a driving component. Okay. But the others, most would rather have the flexibility of doing it at their time, their choice, their living room, than brick and mortar. So you get a bigger performance of students attending than you would if you had it brick and mortar.
Which I didn't have when I was going through there was no FLVS or Ohio State virtual school or something.
Correct.
So I had to go take gym, although taking gym, apparently you can take gym online.
You can, and a lot of our students choose
do.
that
They
path.
get like Fitbits and they gotta do a certain amount of
Really?
stuff.
They many prefer it for a variety of reasons.
How about that? Gym online. All right. And then the last question is, I try and encourage when I go to civic groups a lot of volunteering, and then the question always comes up, well, how do I do that? My answer to them is go to our website and search for the volunteer link or whatever. But is there a way we could put it on our primary? How could we make it easier, I guess, for as soon as people go to our website, like there's a link that says volunteer here or something, and they just click on it to take that extra step away? Or on the other hand, I don't want to clutter up our homepage, but maybe the IT people could look at that or something. You could ask
We'll
them.
be more than happy to look at that.
And I think just to your point,
Mhm.
were you the one that we both were stopped by someone at FSBA? I believe he said he spoke to you about it's a program that does all the volunteering. Like they have, gosh, I forget what it was called. I had the card in my at the house, but maybe that is something that if we can't do it, I mean, there are things out there that are doing that. Then they put all the volunteering at each school is listed. So you click a school and they've got count. I mean, it's a pretty robust deal, but and it's not on us. Like,
Pass it along.
create
We'll,
it,
we'll
yeah.
be happy to look at
To look into
Volunteer
it.
coordinator.
Right.
And those are all my questions and comments. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Spray.
Okay. A couple of things. Also added to our summer reading program is Rocket Phonics, which I 100% support. Dive into reading started out small, it got bigger, and it's huge. I believe Rocket Phonics is going to do the same thing. They have classes that are going to take place at Johnson that will have Samoset students, and then at, what other school is it? There's two schools, Johnson with Samoset and Prine with Miller students. So they will be meeting on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 9 to 11 for the month of June. I plan to go in and interact and see how that program is progressing. I would suggest all other board members do the same thing. And there was a little discussion about credit recovery. I've had some conversations with former teachers, current teachers, staff, other individuals in our education system. And my opinion of credit recovery might be a little different than some others. I think that it's a good program. However, I think some students can use that. I can just not do what I need to do in class because I have this tool that I can use to my benefit. I can do this class at home instead of in class. So if they fail, they always have that backup plan. And I hope that we're not communicating to students, well, you can always do credit recovery. I'd rather them do that in the classroom setting and not abuse that. So I think it's a good program, but I also think it could be used in a different way. I always like to bring up the staff who have retired. This cycle, we have 2 that have retired that have 30-plus years. We have 5 that have 20-plus years, and then 10 that have, 3 that have 10 or more years. And it's a variety of different professions within the education system, from custodians to teachers to ROTC even. So I just want to say thank you to all of them. I know going into the same classroom and doing the same thing time and time again is an achievement when you get to that mark in your career. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of them for everything they've done for our district. And then I already brought up the CFOC and getting that link added to our website. And I agree with Mr. Tatum. If we had that little link like we did through the superintendent search, it was boom, right there on the front page. If we had that volunteer link on our front page, I think we would get a lot more participation, just like members for the CFOC, and I don't know if there's openings for the audit committee or not, but it would be helpful if that was there. So other than that, I think we had a good meeting. I'm glad we got some of the things on the workshop for the CFOC, because they've done a lot of good work in the past few meetings. So they're going to shine when they do come. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised how well they've gotten their stuff together. So other than that, it's all good.
Great. I just want to give my condolences to the Nelson family as well, and also for the teacher that passed. I won't say name just for their sake, but sad when things happen, and they happen for a reason. I truly believe that, and but want to give condolences, from here, from the board, to those families. Other than that, good meeting today. Congratulations again, obviously, to the parish community girls softball team, Coach Spivey as well. I've known Coach Spivey for a long time. We were together at Braden River, so congratulations to her. I know she works hard, and her staff works hard. Other than that, thanks for a great meeting, and thank you, staff, putting everything together and doing what you did, as always, to get these meetings going. And with that, we are adjourned.